pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Parents, want to take roll call?
Dr. Collins,
I'm here.
Patty Back. Here. Dave Axe.
Here.
Jim Christopher.
Here.
Dale Casey.
Here. Everybody received a copy of today's agenda. And should have a copy of the minutes, and actually we have minutes for our October board meeting and two fire board meetings, I think, in September 24th and September 10th. Are there any questions or comments on those minutes?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Patty, any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? Okay, and for the minutes on the three different meetings, any
Make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted for all three meetings.
second? Second. Dale, any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're done with the first one. First, under item 6 is financials and budget amendments. Did we have any?
No, I don't have any at this time.
Okay. Ready, accounts payable, I see we got, took about 16,000 for the building, about 6,000 for the fire department.
Yep. The 101 was $13,375 and 10 cents, and the 701, which is the account we hold money in that we owe other people, it's $2,825, and that's a total of $16,210 cents. And then the fire account, the total for the month was $6,263.62.
Make a motion to approve the bills as submitted.
Is there a second? I'll second. Jim, okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? From the audience? Carrie, would you take a roll call on it?
Patty Back.
Yes.
Dave Axe.
Yes.
Jim Christopher.
Yes.
Dale Casey.
Yes.
Bob DeCon.
Yes. Okay. Financial reports, I think we pretty well covered that there, right? Okay, we got investment report. Did you want to do one, Dave?
I was still moving money around and interest rates are improving a little bit, so I'm doing more CDs than I have. Get better
Interest is
rates.
creeping up a tiny bit anyway.
Yeah, best I'm getting is around 2.3, 2.4.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the accounts, on the bills? Not? Financial report? Minutes, okay. And on the next item, there's nothing under public hearings, nothing under presentations. Unfinished business, we have text amendment to the accessory building, and I know Dave, you had some questions on that last time, so I think the changes have been indicated. Have you had a chance to look at this?
Yeah, I did, and talked to Ben, and it ended up being one small change where they got fixed, and these amendments are the accessory building amendments, the text language is fine, and move to approve as submitted.
Is there a second to that? Any other questions or comments from the board, from the audience? Technical cleanup from last time. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Next item under new business is the smart credits.
The SMART credits are yearly from SMART. They give us credits towards buses, and since we don't have buses here, we generally give that amount of money and divide it between the senior center in Brandon and the senior center in Holland. So the total amount is $5,396, and each senior center and the Village of Holly would get $2,698 each. So I guess my motion is that we give our senior, or our municipal credit community smart credits to the Edna Burton Senior Center in the amount of $2,698, and the Village of Holly, $2,698.
Second.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? Carrie, would you take a roll call?
Dave Axe.
Yes.
Jim Christopher.
Yes.
Dale Cason.
Yes.
Bob DiPalma.
Yes.
Patty Back.
Yes.
Okay, the next item is, I got a fax request from Marilyn McGee, and most of you know that Marilyn kind of functions as our chaplain. And for some reason, she's got to have an annual fee and chaplainized, I guess, for us. She does it for some other people too, and I think it's a good thing, unless there's any issue you would have, Kevin. No? So I think we should approve this to pay the fee for her, because she provides a nice, valuable service when people are kind of distressed for us.
That's your motion?
Yes.
Second.
Is there any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? It's fine, I'm sorry, take a roll call.
Jim Christopher.
Yes.
Dale Cason.
Yes.
Bob DiPalma.
Yes.
Patty Back.
Yes.
Dave Axe.
Yes.
And since I won't be here all morning tomorrow, could you do me a favor tomorrow, Carrie, and just get a hold of Marilyn and let her know we're okay paying that moment?
Okay.
Discuss additional fees for site plans. Patty, this one yours.
Yeah. Okay, so we looked at our site plans again, and we had a small project come in that didn't necessarily, we weren't sure if it needed to go to the planning commission or if it wasn't going to need to go to the planning commission. So what we did is we added a fee for, it's under uses not included with a specific use district, and it would be an admin fee of $250, non-refundable, application review by the planning commission, that could be refundable at $840, and the application review by the consultant, non-refundable for $500. So this might only have to be sent to Ben, and Ben says, oh, that's fine to do, it's a small project, it doesn't need to go on to the planning commission. You have a question, Jim? No. Look kind of like.
No, there's concentrate.
Okay.
And if it doesn't have to go to the planning commission, then this doesn't apply, and you'd have to pay the regular
They would
fees.
have to pay the $840. If, what'll happen is if they come in as one of these small projects, right now when you come in for projects like that, the total is $5,590. And that covers the application review consultants at $4,500, the application review for the planning commission of $840, and the administrative fee of $250. And when it's just a small project, the consultant fees generally aren't that large, and it doesn't necessarily have to be sent to the planning commission. If we send it to Ben, and Ben's like, yeah, that looks good, you know, he would recommend that we can just okay it without going to the planning.
If we don't, sometimes those minor changes end up taking 2-3 months longer, because we gotta wait for a meeting to come up.
I was just concerned if they only paid the $15.90, but then one expert said, well, wait a minute, this needs to go to the engineer, and now we got more fees coming in. There's no mechanism here that I see to cover those extra fees, not
Well,
that.
In that event, we would, you know, when we take this money in, we do let them know that there could be additional fees if it did have to go to the engineer, so on and so forth.
Okay, so that is part of it. Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right, I got no problem.
Okay, so is your motion to approve the fees as submitted?
My motion would be to approve the addition as submitted.
Second.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? From the audience? Carrie, give a roll call.
Dale Cason.
Yes.
Bob DiPalma.
Yes.
Patty Back.
Yes.
Dave Axe.
Yes.
Jim Christopher.
Yes.
Okay, Patty, this next one's yours too. What we do at the office on election day.
Yeah. This is
You
about
were down here.
closing the office on election day. The office girls and we're pretty much closed anyway, because they're all helping work elections and all, so it would just be that there's no business other than elections that day. Building would be closed, and for the most part, if Dave is in, he can still answer questions for anybody with tax questions. Other than that, the office would be closed to general business. So my motion is to close the office on November 6th for election.
Second.
I think Dave beat you in there. Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's done. Next item is to move to resolutions. This is the one that comes up every year where they ask us if we're going to do anything on the state roads, which for us would probably end up being Dixie Highway, although it's actually a county road in our township, or M15. And in the past, we normally don't do this because we haven't had any banners or anything we put up. You know, when you go down Ortonville Days and Brandon, they got some banners over the street, and Clarkston does it. We did it last year because I wasn't sure what would be required if we actually work with county Main Street people on Dixie Highway. So we did it last year. And since we're still working with that group, that's the meeting that I have tomorrow, I would like us to submit this application form again, just in case we need it for Dixie.
Make a motion that we approve the 2019 annual permit for work on state trunk line right away.
Is there a second? Second. Any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Next item is yours, Dave, right? Discuss penalty overtime.
Yeah, we waived penalties before, but the state treasurer wants it in a formal resolution that's certified by the board. So before you, I took verbatim what the treasurer's office has provided. Basically what it amounts to is when a person buys property, they have 45 days to file a property transfer affidavit, and if they don't, they get fined $20 a day, and then we have to pass that money on to the state. And so we said, no, you know, I didn't see a need for that, and we never collected it, and my predecessor never collected it. So this is a formal resolution to say, we're not going to collect it, we're going to waive that penalty. I would like to approve, and I'm not sure if the number is correct, Patty, but the Township of Groveland Resolution 2018-11 to waive penalties for non-filing of property transfer affidavits under MCL 211.27.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And Jim? Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the audience? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, cruising tonight. Moving right to miscellaneous reports. First one's Holly Area Youth Assistance. Is there anything to report on?
Probably the office being so empty, I wasn't able to stay for the meeting,
Okay.
but they're launching something new on Facebook. They'd like everybody to check it out with all the new programs and things that they're doing. Other than that, nothing new to report right now.
Okay, thank you. Anything for Brandon and Groveland?
Yes, there was a meeting today, and Carrie and I did attend, and they were greatly appreciative, wanted to thank the board for the extra $1,000 that was
Approved last night.
approved at the last meeting. They're looking for donations, actually, it's student reps from the high school are looking to put bags together for homeless, and they're looking for any types of donations anybody would like to give, which would be blankets, healthcare items, hygiene items, and the library also is looking for some hygiene items because apparently they've started a little program. Things were not always so well in the teen room. So I guess it's been accepted very well. So if any of you want to donate anything for that, just you can drop it off at the library and they'll be happy to have it. There was a lot of participation for the homecoming and the dance was sold out. And it's looking into to have a safe talk training at the high school level, and that would include some suicide prevention information. And Challenge Day is going to be done again, and that will take place in the high school December 5th and 6th.
covered a lot today.
That's it.
Okay. Planning Commission, Dale?
A couple of things we covered. We revisited the site plan review for the recycling center that Barry Bass is running. We're looking for a little bit of additional information, so we basically tabled that to a future meeting. Camp Tamarack wanted to install, and we approved a 70-foot tower in the middle of the Camp Tamarack property. The purpose of that tower is to serve as a repeater for their radio operations within Camp Tamarack at some dead areas there, and that's just to kind of fill in those communication gaps. So that's all we had.
Okay, thank you, Dale. Jim, anything for you, Dale?
Nothing, we haven't met.
Those are the easy ones. I went to the annual supervisors seminar in Bay City this week. They did have a couple of things that I thought were particularly interesting for us. You know, we've had a couple of issues in the past with barns that were being used for weddings. One almost burned down, and the other one both of them had a number of complaints. Well, the presenter, the attorney that did the presentation, had actually had his wedding at one of these barns. But in the case where he did it, the person that had the barn had it on a separate 6-acre parcel. It was away from everything else, and had done a whole bunch of things to make sure it was done right. And this weekend, I actually went to the antique and car show that they had at the 4-H fairgrounds. And if you've ever gone through the Alice barn there, you'll notice that while it's an old historic barn, there's emergency fire exit lights all over the place. There's fire extinguishers. All of the wiring is run in conduit.
Sprinkled also.
And I think it's sprinkled. So this has always been one of the problems, that most of these old barns, where they're kind of nice, from a public safety perspective, are kind of a real tinderbox. Well, there is a effort in Lansing by one group of people farther out state that think that barns and weddings and receptions and all that are typical ancillary uses for old historic barns, and most of the communities don't allow that because of the problems like the ones we've had. And so they're trying to get a bill through, like the Michigan Townships Association has formally opposed that bill, and I have no idea where it's going to end up. So I just wanted to make you aware that that was covered in the seminar. I think we're going to find out fairly soon, within the year, whether or not there's going to be a way to have those kinds of facilities, and if so, what the requirements are. I mean, I think if they allow them, the gist of the presentation was there's still a whole set of limitations you can put on it. I would imagine a number of those will be safety related from a fire perspective, and then there'll probably be hours of limitations, number of incidences people can attend, that kind of thing. So that's kind of all up in the air right now. The other thing that they had an interesting class on was drones. And we have one drone, don't we? And it's okay to, first of all, I didn't realize this, but those drones are actually licensed, and I know we licensed ours, but there's a certain elevation that they operate in. Below it is kind of anything goes. This, I think it's 100 to 400 feet is where they can operate, and above 400 feet you need some kind of expensive FAA licenses. The gist of the presentation was that in many cases, depending what you want to use them for, it's probably actually better to hire a firm that has one and the correct FAA licenses. I don't think there's a problem using it the way we do for, fire inspections, or if there's a fire on a building, looking up on the roof before you send a firefighter up there so nobody falls in, that kind of thing. But they're not to be used for things like ordnance surveillance or that. That gets into kind of violating somebody's privacy rights. So it was a pretty interesting class in it, so we just need to make sure we use ours for the fire department.
Oh, Jeremy Watson, okay.
Okay. And I have a couple of handouts on it if you want to give them to you, you can pass them on to Jeremy. Talked a little bit about the sign ordinances, but I think we're pretty clean on all that stuff and the changes we made. Other than that, the other couple pearls of wisdom, let me see if I can take some notes from me, check them real quick. There's a number of laws we're making some changes on, but they're kind of minor. I felt nothing really big to us. The feedback from the lobbyists from the MTA that represents the townships up in Lansing said there's an additional $300 million that's been put into roads this year. That's part of what they did. And that the revenue sharing increase estimate for the next year is up about 2.6%. That's probably a little bit better than it's been. It's been around 2.1. The big thing that worries me a little bit is the utility companies have decided now, you know how they started taking away all personal property tax, and then the state government was making municipalities whole with that money. Was that the part we put back to the fire department? Well, the utility companies have decided they think, well, we really think all these transmission lines and pipelines ought to be exempt. And if they do that, that's a large sum of money to us. I think the assessment on the pipeline that went through a couple of years ago here was about $10 million to us, I think. So it's a lot of money that we could potentially lose. I don't know where it's going to go, but that's one of the things that's up in the air right now. Another thing is that Michigan is like just about dead last in recycling efforts as a state. In the Midwest, we're the lowest of all of them. We only recycle about 15% of all of the waste that we have. And the goal is typically to get it around 35%. So one of the things they're talking about doing is raising the tipping fees at the landfills and using that money to help promote recycling. This doesn't sound like much. I don't know how it gets implemented, but they're talking about raising it 36 cents a ton on the tipping fee, which is not much because I know from when we looked at different things, the average household in the community generates 1 ton of garbage a year. 36 cents. Now, I don't know what happens when the waste hauler gets a hold of that. It ends up being $8.95 a month. Surcharge, but it's 36 cents a year is what is possible. And that would raise the fee to somewhere around $4.44 a ton, I think, for the impact fee that they pay. And I know from when we looked at the green power that was going to turn garbage into energy and all that stuff, the tipping fees in Michigan really are among the lowest, which is why the recycling is so low. Tipping fees for a waste hauler really run about, on the low side, 15, and on the high side, maybe 22 bucks a ton. Most of the places where recycling technologies work, that they can burn it and convert it into energy or other things, end up having tipping fees that are around 45 bucks a ton. At 45 bucks a ton, there's enough displacement cost to make these other technologies work. When we're down at 15, 18, 22 bucks a ton, you're going to add 36 cents to it. I don't think it's going to get to where they want to go. But it is a big push in the state to try and improve it. And the other thing is, in this next election, 44 of the 110 representatives in the state of Michigan will all be new. And 28 of 38 senators. So what happens is, when they all get there, none of them have any of the historical data on most of the things and why they were done the way they were in the first place. So there's a big learning curve that has to go on. And so we might all be seeing a lot of different things coming down the pipe and not understand exactly why. But it's frequently because some of them don't know the original assumption sets that were used to build into some of the things they do up there. I'm just letting you know, there's a lot of changes in it. And if they pass the marijuana vote this November, which everybody seems to think is going to make it for the recreational use, we probably will need to do a resolution then to the state telling them specifically we do not want them here. Whereas, you know, up to this point in time on the personal use of marijuana, we could just say we did or didn't want any facilities. You could actually say nothing, and it meant you didn't have to take them. Once they pass the recreational use and they start licensing the commercial operations, we will probably have to do a formal resolution, send it to the state, and I think that the MTA is trying to work up some standard language for us to use on that. So those were the main things that came out of the 2 days that I was up there. It was in Bay City, so I didn't take too much of it. I don't have anything else to report except that tomorrow I'm going to the meeting at the Vault in Holly to meet with Main Street people to talk about the work we're trying to do in conjunction with Springfield and Holly to do that Dixie Byway marketing. So I'll let you know what happens on that one because the next meeting. That's all I have. And do you have anything you want to add? Not you. Now that you're on day 9.
Day 9, is it day 9? I haven't even been in. Yep, I'm still settling in. And Teresa, where'd she go? Teresa and I have been working on elections, and as of today's count, Teresa has sent out 560 AVs, and we keep having a steady line of people every day coming in for more AV ballots. So anybody who wants to vote AV, come on in and get your app and ballot. Carrie and I attended the MERS conference last Thursday and Friday, and that has to do with our retirement and employee retirement and afterwards. And they had some interesting sessions. They had a gal there who talked on Social Security that was pretty interesting, and how you go about all that and what to know, what not to know. And the other thing is, tomorrow night we're going to have Pam's an open house here in the meeting room for her retirement, so everybody's welcome to come. And I just want to say I'm happy to be the clerk. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to working for the residents and the fire department, the employees, and everyone there.
Well, we're happy to have you.
Thank you, Tom.
There's one other thing. There's one other thing I forgot to mention. I did have a meeting a couple of days ago with the economic development people about our 90 acres and some ideas that I wanted to get from them so I could eventually get us to the point where we've all seen the same suggestions that kind of crystallize what we think we want to do with that property going forward. They had a number of different ideas, rough sketched out. I asked them to put something together. They think they could come to us, it'd be just a work session to kind of throw out some ideas and see if we get started on congealing it, but probably be on the 24th, if that's a good date for it. So if it's not, this month, if it's not, we can move it later, because frankly, Barry was supposed to be there with me. He had some ideas he wanted to run by, and we couldn't make it, so I'd like to at least let him see what they said before we all get together, so we got all the input. But tentatively it's the 24th, so I'll get back to you and let you know if that's the actual date we do, okay? Just to give you a heads up. Dave, anything for Treasurer's Office?
It's not really the treasurer's office, but I'm working on getting us some new phones so that everybody can
Some
transfer
email
phones, or phone calls, and we get messages, and when people call in, they actually have a current employee recording. Hopefully it'll.
When we figure it out, we need to let
Well,
Kevin know, because he
yeah.
had the same problem.
We'll get on that bandwagon. It's really quite an antiquated system. It can't be repaired.
That's kind of disappointing, because we bought it as an AT&T system figuring the one before was in Northern California, the two biggest vendors. You figure you'd buy it, you'd be able to get service on it, but it doesn't matter. They're so inexpensive now. After a few years, they built in preferred obsolescence, and then they don't service them anymore. Even if they did, it's more than buying a system. That's what happens.
Right. So that's all.
That's all I remember.
That's all I'm working on.
Okay. Well, are there any other questions or comments?
Yes, if I could. I'm Diane Salter. I have 36 years in law enforcement, and I'm currently a special agent with the Michigan Attorney General's office. I've been in public service for my whole career, and I love it. I've lived in the community, which is Groveland Township, for over 22 years, and I love it out here.
Okay, short term, right?
I know. Well, it will be under, trust me, it's large font. And what
I'm only kidding.
Yeah, no, I talked to you a couple of times. And I let you do most of the talking. But I'm married to my husband, Scott, and we have 2 children who graduated from Bill Brandon schools, and that's Jacob and Ella. And I have to tell you that I do feel that the Brandon schools are the gems of Oakland County. I have proudly served on the Brandon Board of Education for the past 6 years, and I'm currently board president. I'm running for re-election. There are 3 spots open. There are 6. I think, I know I am obviously a Groveland Township resident. I don't know if anybody else is. If there could be 3 new, which would be almost half our board, 2 of us are running for re-election. But I want you, just so you know, that I am planning on continuing to put students first. I want to keep safety one of our district's top priority. Continue to be fiscally responsible and a conscientious steward of your taxpayer dollars. And keep expectations high, support the district's focus on student achievement. I want to make today's decisions with tomorrow in mind, and I do believe in the Brandon students, our teachers, our staff, our schools, and our community. I am really very proud of the achievements that our students and staff have obtained. My goal is for our students, teachers, and Brandon School District to continue to strive for excellence. I am on Facebook. It's re-elect President Diane Salter, the Brandon School Board. I ask you to please vote for me and tell others. Again, but this is my first meeting. I didn't know how to do things, but I just at least wanted to introduce myself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments?
2 questions. Just out of curiosity, what was the chaplain's fee?
$125, I think.
The second question, if they do pass the recreational marijuana, why would you try to exclude tax-paying business from the township?
Well, that's one of the big questions is how much tax-paying money are we actually going to get and what's the exposure on it? There's like 5 different kinds of licenses, and
But you were so quick to dismiss it, that's the only question I
well,
asked.
because we already had a discussion a couple times and said we didn't want to have any of them here because we have no way of mandating what the police responses for those kinds of things or what it might bring to us.
I mean,
and there's very few places you can do it.
State police actually has a whole division that goes around and checks the stores out. I was just asking.
Yeah, well, we didn't think it was, there's not that much business area left in the township. It wouldn't be in residential area, and we're really hoping that what we do have for potential, and even that's limited on Dixie Highway and then Grange Hall between I-75 and Dixie, is going to be used for support functions to kind of promote the recreational activities. So I don't think any of us felt that putting potentially marijuana warehouses next to what we're trying to do for the ORV park would not be a real good use of it. The money you get on it, by the way, is only if they covered that, and I think it's 15% of the 3% sales tax that they charge on marijuana is going to go back to the municipalities, but I've yet to be able to find out if somebody could tell me if it's in your township, do you get the whole 15% of the 3%, or is that somehow distributed amongst all the licensed facilities? And it's just, the reality is, it doesn't add up to very much money. If you look at what all the other, and we did this when we looked at it the first time, all the other states have a significantly higher tax rate. This is like minuscule compared to the rest of them. So where some of them, like Colorado, I think was taking quite a few $100 million and trying to use it to like fix roads and that, our legislators didn't decide to do that. They just make the tax really little and cut it up this way, and we end up with practically nothing is what it amounts to.
If I may, this has come up maybe, what, 5 times in the last 5 years. And the last thing we found out was that the only money generating portion of the business was the dispensaries.
Well, that seems like it because I don't think they could tax it multiple times along the way, and nobody wanted the dispensaries because that's where you're most likely to have some